The real threat to the white man in this country is not the Jews or the black community. This man is an RCMP officer named Grant Bristow. When I was in high school, Bristow came to my hometown and told all of us he was a white supremacist. Bristow conned a lot of people into joining his group, the Heritage Front, by telling them that it was the black community that was responsible for some of their relatives doing drugs, and the Jews' fault for some of their family being poor. The people who followed Bristow weren't even racist. They were just tired of the drugs and the poverty in their community and willing to believe anything a guy in a fancy suit and bolo tie was willing to tell them. When he had enough of these people duped, he tried to charge all of them with a Canadian hate crime. And these poor, destitute people took him to court and won because the Supreme Court ruled that Grant Bristow had committed an act of entrapment. However, in the process of doing this, people lost their homes, their cars, their jobs. Whole families got divorced and were devastated. Later on in the trial, it was found out that the reason why the police were doing this was because the Liberals wanted more money to fight so-called hate crimes. And the problem is there wasn't any hate crimes going on in Canada. Everybody was happy and going along and being friendly with everybody. So the Liberal Party decided that they were just going to create hate crimes. And the police went along with this because the RCMP loves money, and this would give them even more money. Shockingly enough, this is not the first time this has happened. Back in the 1960s, the Liberals conned all of Canada into thinking we had a Nazi political party so Pierre Trudeau could win the federal election. They paid this RCMP officer to pump up John Beatley full of beer and to appear as the leader of the Canadian Nazi Party. We know this now because Sun News found John Beatley. He's a flaky old man who's kept some very interesting paperwork. Apparently the building that they claimed was the Nazi headquarters was really a college dorm that had a black guy and a Jewish girl living in it. Sun News found this Jewish woman still alive and very old who denies any real uprising going on in her dorm. There is also records of the checks the RCMP gave to Beatley to run the Canadian Nazi Party, as well as other records concluding that the RCMP officer and John Beatley were the only real members of this so-called Canadian Nazi Party. I do not support any sort of Nazi ideology. As a matter of fact, I'm actually a very strong supporter for Israel. But putting that aside, every time you act like a racist asshole, you're not only being an asshole, but you're also playing right into the real enemy's plans. You have to wonder who the animals are when the white man is constantly jumping through a hoop held by a liberal in a top hat. I'm making this video to implore you, to beg you, do not do what the enemy wants you to do. And this year, at the federal election, please do not vote for Justin Trudeau, or history will repeat itself with more anti-white male legislation. Thank you.